What's going on, gang? I hope everyone's doing well. This is a roaming prepper channel. For those of you who are new to the channel, thank you for joining me today. Today I want to talk a little bit about what's going on with all the posturing, the geopolitical posturing. Now, Prepper Now and I kind of went off on a tangent on when we did our collab a couple of weeks ago, regarding how this mirrors a lot of things that happened in World War I. And the problem is we're getting so bombarded with this news that it's really hard to kind of back away and get some kind of perspective. So what people are starting to do is panic and freak out, which does nobody any good. So let's touch on some of this, and I'll touch also on something I'm worried about in particular, because I think the way leaders are acting, this is more likely to be the biggest problem than a lot of other things we're seeing. So give me a few seconds, I'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. Once again, this is a Roaming Prepper channel, and I'm your host, Pete. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. I do appreciate it. I mean, you could put a thumbs down if you think I sound like a clown today, but, you know, any questions you have, put them in the comments below. I usually try to premiere these videos, but I sometimes don't make my own premieres because of my work. So if I don't, throw them in the comments below. So what was I talking about earlier? What is the this thing that concerns us? Well, right now we have a lot of hot spots, right? So we've got various countries in Europe and even in the Middle East, like Iran hacked Albania because they're pissed at each other, which is absolutely bizarre. Of course, we have Russia, Ukraine, have Taiwan and China. As of today, North Korea fired a rocket directly over Japan. Normally they fire it to the sides. They shot one over Japan, which apparently they haven't done in years. So a lot of people were freaking out about this missile being launched over Japan. There are a couple of things that concern me. And, you know, again, we had that collab with Prepper Now. I've done a lot of collabs with several people, Angry Prepper, New York, Hudson Valley and Texas Red Leg. We've all been kind of throwing this around in the background. A lot of us keep in touch, kind of off the wall. We're all kind of throwing little notes at each other. But the end of the day, what we're seeing now is countries, in my opinion, being absolutely irresponsible. They're not being diplomatic. They're not being, you know, social. They're not having communiques. They are just being turds. I don't know another word to say it. And my big concern is, and I've said it before, someone's going to screw up, okay? Someone's going to miscalculate, interpret something wrong, and things are going to take a sideways turn. A great example right now, we have Russia moving Iskander missiles toward the border of the conflict. Ukraine is absolutely throwing the Russians into a rout. This is as Vlad is trying to get his reinforcements to the front. They're just pushing them out. Russia didn't get in this to lose, and certainly not to lose the properties they just annexed. That's the first example. They're annexing on an arbitrary basis because we all know their vote was pretty much a sham because half the citizens are in hiding right now. They've just annexed 4 oblasts of Ukraine. Nobody's going to recognize that. Of course, North Korea and China may, but nobody else will. You add to that the positioning of very high-tech, or in some cases nuclear-capable weapon systems in the vicinity of a conflict zone. That just invites a problem, okay? Then you look at China massing troops and kind of doing all these games around Taiwan. A lot of this goes to, if you ever read Sun Tzu, and I need to go read it again, but the art of war, deception, or get your enemy used to your movements, right? China's constantly flying routes around Taiwan, right? And right now it's exercises, but we all know it could be a precursor. Remember, Russia repeatedly massed troops on the Ukrainian border and then retreated. And then they did this for years. They did this for several years, positioning troops in Belarus, positioning them in different places, and all of a sudden, thump, they went into Ukraine. Right? Not a surprising precursor that China's doing the same. You have North Korea firing rockets over people. My concern is, and other people have echoed it, someone's going to screw up. Whether they intend to or not, if that rocket had malfunctioned and dropped on Tokyo, even though it had no nuclear warhead, it did have a conventional warhead. Japan and North Korea would be at conflict. And hence, China and the US would now have a conflict if they couldn't negotiate it out. And right now, they're not. You could say what you want about our past president. He was a potty mouth. He was obnoxious. But he went and spoke to the leaders directly. He went to Xi and spoke to him directly. He went to Putin, spoke to him directly. He even spoke to the guy in North Korea, spoke to him directly. They may have liked him. They may not have liked him. But they had candid conversations. We stopped. Somewhere along the way, we're stopped. And I'm not seeing the vice president, senators, anybody. They visited Taiwan, but nobody's gone to China. No one's gone to Russia on behalf of the US or NATO. Now you add to that the damage done to the pipelines, and now Europe is going to find itself in a bad situation. I've been watching some of the European channels, and they're worried, and they're rightly so. All the natural gas that we have here, trying to liquefy it and get it to Europe to help them out, we can't do it fast enough. Okay, in the oil and gas sector right now, we have drilling rigs and other parts, and solar, wind, the whole 9 yards. You order parts that used to take 6 weeks are now taking 6 months. Hell, even, people who do Etsy stuff are ordering, material and shirts and stuffed animals, and stuff they ordered last September showed up in August, September, October, like a year lead time when it used to be 30 days. It's absolutely insane. People are going to get desperate. Populaces are going to get angry. We're already seeing that. People are going to riot against their leaders. We've already seen that. It's happening in Iran. They've shut down the internet to kind of squash the coordination of the people. I don't know if it's going to work. They're doing it in Iran. China had the bank protests. We had protests here all through 2020. My fear is someone's going to miscalculate in trying to either distract their populace away from their domestic issues to go say, oh, look, those guys are our enemy. Go pay attention to them. They're going to screw up. And that scares me more than the inflation, everything else. The inflation, the supply chain issues, those are hardships, but all of them are kind of like a snowball effect into what we now see as this geopolitical puffery. My biggest fear, friends, is someone's going to screw up on a battlefield. A Russian commander may think he's about to get overrun and tells his artillery guys, you know what, load up a tactical nuke and we'll stop this column that's killing our people. North Korea may fire a rocket over Japan. It malfunctions and lands in Kyoto. Now there's a problem. China doing flybys of the aircraft carriers, our destroyers going past the Taiwan Strait, right on the edge of Chinese territorial waters. Right now we have nuclear submarines have been deployed. Now we already had a few years ago an American destroyer crashed into a Chinese submarine. They were playing peekaboo with each other and they collided, right? And that was embarrassing for both countries. But now with the heightened tension, that concerns me. The fact that our leaders are not stopping this and actually engaging in some kind of open diplomacy blows my mind. There's a lot of rhetoric. There are a lot of threats being made. We've seen several video prepper now, just did one recently. We've had some from Angry and from a few others, Hudson and Off the Wall, where we're all seeing this. And that concerns me because with the tension within each country, that could lead to something sparking off, and from there it'll go downhill. Again, I go back to the North Korea missile from yesterday or day before. What if the missile just malfunctioned? It was intended to go into the Pacific, and for whatever reason, rocket burned out too soon. Look, I'm an engineer. I've read about the failures of the Apollo system and SpaceX and all those, even the more modern stuff. Rockets fail, they malfunction. And that damn thing would have come tumbling down on a US fleet or the Japanese mainland. We instantly find ourselves in a shooting war. Now what? Because North Korea accidentally, ding Japan, and then their reaction will be to go punch South Korea in the eye, and now we have a fight over there too. This stuff should concern everyone, because it seems like none of our leaders, at least from what we can see in the media, are actually engaging in real life diplomacy. There's threats, and it kind of reminds me of the Cuban Missile Crisis on steroids, because it's not just in one place. It's happening all over. Hell, Turkey was threatening to invade Greece a few weeks ago. Why the hell would 2 NATO countries get into it? Absolutely blows my mind. And these are the things that concern me. Our leaders miscalculate, and they may very quickly and very easily cause us to go down a path that everyone's going to regret. And the elites, leaders who think they're immune, well, I'll tell you what, the Tsar, Marie Antoinette, King Louis, the King of England when the American Revolution happened, all these leaders throughout history, the Caesars, they thought they were immune to whatever debacle was going on at the ground level, until they weren't. Until the gates were stormed, until another leader decided, you're going to get us all killed. I fear in the next year we're going to see some amazingly bad political instability everywhere. And that's separate from Mr. Bill's prediction that we would have a deadlocked election in the US, because I'm sure he has his hands in stuff. I won't even go down there because I'll get kicked off YouTube. What I would do, none of us can control this, but we need to watch it so we kind of know what's coming. What you need to do is make financial preparations, reduce your debt exposure, make sure you have food, amenities, even if you're new, a week, 2 weeks, a weekend. You just need that buffer to think. Now, if you're more evolved, you have food for months or even years, great. Keep in mind, you may have to move. The best option is always to bug in. A nuke would be a very good reason to bug out. Terror attacks might be a reason you have to bug out. Have that in the back of your mind. If plan A or B don't work, what's my plan C? Do I have a place to go? Who do I go to? How do I get there? How do I bring my preps? How do I bring my family or my dogs or whatever? Have those plans in the back of your mind. It's not to freak out, but more to just have them ready in the event something goes sideways. Guys, this isn't meant to be doomsdayish. I'm just looking, I love history, and I'm looking at what has happened in the past, and I'm looking at what's happened now. This is not Gorbachev and Reagan. This is not Khrushchev and Kennedy. We've got an arrogant ex-KGB guy who's dead set on not losing, and a president who's trying to shake hands with people who aren't there. And I feel like we're rudderless. And I go back to my analogy from last year. I predicted last year that about this time this year, we'd be like the lady who lost control of the full shopping cart. Now everyone's running after the cart to try and stop it from spilling. Whether we're too late to stop the shopping cart is anyone's guess. But guys, continue to watch this, because what happens and where it happens could play into what we're going to find or not find on the shelves. If it happens, if Europe expands to other countries, that's going to spike energy prices, but it's going to make certain foods less available, which they already are. It's especially going to hurt Africa and Southeast Asia. If it pops off in China, all the import goods from the West Coast are going to dry up. And that's assuming they don't outright hit any of the West Coast. Again, pure speculation. But understanding what each conflict zone can do to your availability, to your food, to your, all of it can cause inflation. So pretty much just assume we'll have inflation. But understanding how something in Europe can affect you versus something in Asia can affect you versus something in South America or something, in the Mediterranean, kind of gives you a game plan. It gives you a direction. And that's your takeaway today, guys, is try to understand, and I don't have all the answers. I got to read a little more on the interplay of some of these, but understand how these different aspects, if things pop off in certain areas, how will it affect you? And what will be the first needle to move? Will it be fuel? Will it be food availability? Will it be clothing? Will it be tires? Understanding how that works can really help you. What you don't need to do is not freak out, because nothing may happen. It may become a nothing sandwich, but it may be significant. We don't know. But I will tell you, I'm not impressed with our leaders. I think none of them around the world are really doing a great job. And it makes me sad to think that this is the best the world has to offer in this modern day. They're either senile, arrogant, or stupid. And it's just frustrating. But in any case, guys, that'll be it for tonight's video. Again, I wanted to do a live, but the work is kind of interfering. I'm probably going to be leaving the office or the house here in a bit to go take care of some stuff. So until next time, again, if you have any questions that I don't cover in the premiere, throw them in the comments below. God bless, Godspeed. I will see you all on my next video. You guys take care.